Professor Emeritus Kevin Willmott. So we'll start off with just a few questions here. Kevin and I have talked about this movie so many times for so long. I can go on and sing it. It never really gets old. I showed this in my class a few weeks ago, and I was telling Kevin this is the second time I've seen it in about 4 weeks. It's very prophetic. It was pointed out in 2004, officials were selected at Sundance Film Festival. And so, Kevin, I used the word today. I just want to talk to you so first, when you decided to write this movie, why C.S.A., and then how does it feel seeing it now, 21 years later?
Well, I can't believe it's been 21 years. I did just get the rights back, so I guess it is been 20. Yeah, thank you so much. And before I get started, I want to get this. I want to thank the film department, Lindsay, Anna Neal, John Husky. Thank you guys so much for all the work you've done. And for all the other folks who helped them, God bless you. Thank you so much. It's been a beautiful. I'm so honored to be part of this. I'll tell you, when we were making the film, we had no money. We never really had money. We just kind of did it a little bit at a time. But I was really pissed. And the thing about anger that's really good is that anger. Everything good starts with anger. I mean, everything that has moved any nation forward started with anger. I mean, if Rosa Parks had not got angry, then the civil rights movement wouldn't happen. Right? She'd get angry. I'm not going to give up my seat. Well, we're going to arrest her. So you have to get angry. So I was pissed. I was tired of seeing the flag, the Confederate flag over South Carolina. I was tired of seeing the Confederate flag on the cars. You got to understand, my family, my family is odd. So my father was 60 when I was born. My father was born in 1898. So that's only 30-some years after slavery. That's my father. That's my grandpa's my father. And so I had older parents. And so I grew up hearing a lot of history. And not history stories, but just stuff they lived with. And so it makes history different when you kind of see people and hear people tell the stories of how they experienced it. It's not like something you read in a book. It's something that happened to your dad, your mom, whoever. So I think it started there a little bit. And I was a film nerd, and I love movies. And I remember when there were so many things that came to me as I started writing and making the movie, things that I said and did as a kid that I had forgotten. And one of the things, I was drawing a Confederate flag one time. And my father said, "What are you doing, son?" And I said, "I'm drawing this blue flag." And he said, "That's the flag of slavery, son." And I said, "I never tell you that." Because it's like, I see that flag in these movies all the time. That's the good guys. And I remember when I was making the movie, I had that flashback of that movie. And it just said so much about how all of us have been ingrained history and propaganda and racism to make us believe that things that were not true were true. And so as I started making the film, I just learned so much making. You know, and the big thing I learned was that the South won. They lost on the battlefield, but they won in their attempt to hold on to America. And that's why there's three Americas. There's the first America, 1776, and then there's the 1865 America, and then there's the Civil Rights Movement. And black people really don't get freedom until then. And that's when women start to get free. That's when gay folks start to come in. We bring the Native Americans to such a switch forward with that. And so, you know, the C.S.A. is about limiting freedom. And so what I learned was that the Civil War never really ended. Still going on. And you go back and forth in this country between the C.S.A. and the U.S. While we have this map of Bloomington, C.S.A. and U.S. And Kansas was part of the U.S. Free State, right? My kids went to Free State High School. I love the Free State District at this time. But after the war, Lawrence is segregated. And it's not the Mississippi Board of Education case that desegregates schools, it's the Topeka, Kansas Board of Education case. So how do you go from the free state to the segregated state? Because the South won the Civil War. That's how you get there. And none of that was taught to us. And so that was the thing that was such a major revelation to me as I kind of started making this film. That's when I started to see the movies, and there's a lot of movies that we all grew up with kids here. A lot of them were westerns. A lot of them were Quantrell. And Quantrell is sometimes the good guy, sometimes the bad guy. And they really shouldn't be called westerns. They should be really called Southerners. Because they have a Southern way of life. The Southerners are the good guys in this thing. I mean, the best one to look at is actually on Max, if you get into it, that's on Max. It's called Santa Fe Trail. Stars Ronald Reagan, of course, and Errol Flynn, and John Brown. John Brown, of course, is the bad guy.
Why is he the bad guy?
Well, you know, he's got this pesky thing. He's always ranting about he's a nut. He's totally crazy.
But why?
Well, you know, he's crazy because he keeps wanting to free African Americans. Oh, he's got to be crazy, right? And that's the thing I always tell people. It's like, when I hear a story and say, you know, John Brown's crazy, I say, yeah, but I never have ever heard his story and say, a slave owner is crazy. Never. Guy owning the slaves is perfectly sane, but the guy freeing the slaves, oh, that guy was crazy. That guy is nuts. So, you see how he messes up? And so, the thing that I think we're experiencing right now, that the film taught me, is that we go back and forth between the USA and the C.S.A., and obviously we're living in the C.S.A. And I'm going to say, I think we're in a permanent C.S.A. And I'm just going to say, I really feel we're in a permanent C.S.A. And if we don't get our shit together quick, this shit is going to hold. And if the Democrats don't stop thinking that this is the old way, because everything has changed, folks.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Everything has changed. The old set of rules are gone. Everything has changed. And you have to fight on a whole different level against these people, or you are going to lose.
Amen.
They have it out for us. They hate us. We don't hate them, but they hate us. And you better start admitting that before it's too late. The way they talk about us, the way they talk about trans people, the way they talk about gay people, the way they talk about immigrants. And that's normal talk on television all day long. And there is no response.
Yeah.
Goddamn right. And the deal is, a place like Lawrence should be the center of the pushback and the fight against this madness. And we are not. We are not. Don't be giving ourselves a bunch of goddamn credit we don't deserve. We ain't doing shit. We ain't doing shit. Look what is happening to Haskell race. Look what is happening. Ain't nobody saying shit. Ain't nobody doing shit. Yeah, I'm pissed. I'm gonna take this time to get a bunch of shit off my fucking chest. It's time for us to stop playing with these people. It's time to stop talking to these people as if this old set of rules still exists. This is not about being nice anymore. They are not nice to us. You have to, we need a channel that's on television all day long, like they have a channel. People say MSNBC, CNN, those are not our channels. They have a channel that lies all day long to the American people. Works on a whole other level, has no regulation whatsoever to it. They know he's lying. They get in there and feed his lies, and they support his lies, and they are selling this to the American people. And this election, they bought it.
Yeah.
They told people that folks were eating cats and dogs. Haitians were eating cats and dogs, and the governor said they're not eating cats and dogs. The mayor said they're not eating cats and dogs. Fox News said they're eating cats and dogs. No one ever apologized for that. Ever. Still today, no apology to those people. That's wrong. That is so wrong on so many levels. Look at the lie that they're telling right now about Ukraine. He's the dictator. I mean, you know, we all went to school. We all read 1984. We know what's going on. But the thing that we don't do a really good job of, we don't do a good job of explaining things to people. The Democrats do not explain things to people. Our side does not explain things very well to people. That's why we've lost. It's not about bread and milk and eggs and that bullshit. It's about people bought the lie about immigrants, and they bought the lie about trans people, and they bought the lie about all that stuff. That's what they did. That's why we lost. And that's why we're going to keep losing until we find a way to counter the misinformation that is happening in this country. It's a very, very serious problem. And that's the thing I learned from C.S.A, that you have to counter the misinformation. And I try to do it in an entertaining way, in a fun way. But you can't make a movie like that and not have it kind of change the way you look at the world. And that's what it did. It gave me a different kind of point of view of the world. And now when I see things, and I see them lying on television, I see these people lying to the public, and I see Democrats, especially not a loyal Democrat, in no other party, right? So when it got, unless there's a revolution, we do something different. That's the only guys we got, folks. we have not figured out how to respond to this.
That's right.
And there's a lot of things we can do, but we're doing none of them. And Lawrence, the leadership of Lawrence, we got to get in their ass. They got to find a way to save Haskell. Haskell's getting ready to die. So I'll shut up. Because I'll be preaching here all night. But I want to, before I forget all my other good stuff, there's some of my people are here tonight that have been in all of my movies, that are my folks who made my dreams come true. Everybody who's worked on one of my movies, please stand. You know, it's so funny. So many of my students helped with this movie. My guy Sean Blake, so funny. He was one of my students in one of my classes, and you know, and he was a smart young man, talented. And when I was first starting C.S.A, it was like, how am I going to get these special effects in this movie? You know, the special effects were just kind of starting, and they had, you know, it was like Star Wars, you know, and you had to go to the Skywalker Ranch, and I was thinking maybe I could get out there and they might give me something, like a day and a half or something, you know. And by the time we finished the film, Sean was doing the special effects on his own computer across the street from the school. So that's how fast the technology changed during the film, during making this film. I mean, so the rocket ship where we had C.S.A. on it, and the Confederate flag on the moon, and all that stuff. Sean did all that stuff in his bedroom across the street from all of us. And he played Hitler too. I always told Sean, I said, I gave you the part of Hitler man because you had Hitler hair. You had good Hitler hair.
You were Hitler? Yeah, you were Hitler? Oh my goodness.
So he's walking around with the Nazi stuff on him. I know people just had to go, what the hell is this Negro doing?
But that was the beauty of it, right?
That was
it's like the community.
Total community effort, you know, total community effort. I mean, you know, I think half the town is in the movie. So, you know, there's so many faculty members, and you know, there's that bit where Fauntleroy is doing the Fauntleroy commercial. Fauntleroy is the man, that thing, and he's throwing the rocks in the pond. That's over here on campus too. And there was a dude had a dog, and he was throwing rocks, and we said, "Oh shit, let's just have the dog in the shot," you know. And so Fauntleroy throws a rock, and the dog just gives all this production back. We had none of that. We just would go places and do things, and it was just really great.
I remember being there, and you being the editor.
You saw him coming out the trunk of a car. You saw the trunk of a car.
And then it was on the contrary drug.
And he's on the contrary.
Yeah.
He's on the contrary.
I did not take that before I came tonight.
All day control. All day control.
No. So that's beautiful. And I don't want to, like I said, I can talk to you, and I asked one question, and certainly I think everybody needed to hear what you said. And I concur and second everything that you said about stepping up and stop playing by the rules. You know, we talked about all that stuff. Yeah. So that needed to be said. And that's enough. So I want really people out here to have the opportunity to ask some questions too. So I will kind of sadly defer, because me and Kevin, like, we got a good show. Right? But I you know, really, I have this access all the time. So are there questions from the audience? Up here?
Yeah.
How do we resist?
How do we resist? Well, I think the first thing you do is you start telling folks we live in a fascist country right now. I think that's a big one right now. Because, see, he can do fascist things, but everyone's afraid to say we're living in a fascist country because that makes you sound crazy. Because you can't be living in a fascist country, it's America. You can't be living in a fascist country. And so the Democrats don't want to say it because they sound alarmist. And so he's got you that way. He's got the power over you because he can do horrible things to you, but you can't even acknowledge what he's doing to you because then you sound like you're going way too far.
Yeah.
So then they have you. That's how power works. And see, so I think the minute that you start explaining to people, one thing you got to say, people who know what fascism is, you got to explain to them what it is. Yeah. And the whole thing about cutting budgets, it has nothing to do with cutting budgets. It is destroying the infrastructure of the government.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing right now. They're trying to that's what they've said it for the last 10 years now. That's been their plan. They want to destroy the government. They hate the government. And you know why they hate the government? Because the government helps the little people.
Yeah.
The government, that's why there's, in the civil rights movement, it was the civil rights law violations that sent the Klans to prison. It wasn't the laws from Mississippi and Alabama. The federal government had to go and arrest those people because the states would not, when they murdered Emmett Till and murdered civil rights workers and murdered people. So the government has always been the role of protector for people in need. And that's why they're taking the government away, because they don't want you to have any protection. That's right. So it's important. It's like it goes all the way back to, I'll be here for 5 weeks. But you see my point? You have to explain things to people. This is what the people are not doing right now. Things when conversations come up and people start saying, oh man, this is so messed up. My buddy just lost his job, or da-da-da happened, or da-da-da. It's like you need to stop and you need to explain things to them about what's going on. And when people talk about DEI, and Novotny told me about this one, don't use the word DEI, use the word diversity, equity, and inclusion. You are against diversity, equity, and inclusion. Spell it out to people because it's harder to be against diversity, equity, and inclusion than it is to be against DEI. People don't know what DEI is. Yeah. I was a DEI hire at KU. When I was hired at KU, the Department of Film and Media Studies was all white. That's right. Let me tell you my story real quick. So when I moved to Lawrence, Kansas, I came here to make my first film, 9th Street. And I had just graduated from NYU Film School. I had an MFA degree. And a woman by the name of Sam Haskins, some of you may know, great woman. She was in film production. She used to work at Centron Studios when it was Centron. And she is the reason I came to Lawrence, long story. But then one day she calls me and said, hey, Kevin, I was walking through, well, I'll be telling this way. I was walking through Old Father one day, and I let the faculty guys know, hey, and they'd heard about the movie I was making. I said, hey, I have an MFA, I'm in town, ever need somebody? Maybe give me a call. Cool. Then I get a cold call from Sam Haskins. She tells me, they want somebody to teach a class. They asked me to teach the class, but I'm not qualified. But they never called me. So she said, you should go. And so I went down and they let me teach the class, and then they said, you're really good. You should teach full time. And it was because of the DEI policy of the university that they hired me full time. And that's how I became a professor at Kansas University. It was only because of the DEI policy that they hired me full time. They didn't have the money to hire a professor, but they had money through this DEI program that they could hire me. If they hadn't had that thing, it would have remained all white. So DEI is also about integration, folks. It's about integration. And so there's a lot of that's what I mean about misinformation out there. People don't know even what DEI means. They tell you all this stuff, and people don't even know what it means.
That's right. Can I, do you mind if I add something?
Yeah.
That question, how do you resist? I'm sorry, it's your show, brother.
No.
But the thing, I have a very unpopular perspective about this, how we resist. You gotta stop enabling these people too. Like, and I'm serious about this. Like, I know it's tough when you got friends and family members who don't agree. But when your friends and families are smiling in your face and going and voting against your rights, you might want to rethink your friends and family, right? Because if there are no consequences for that behavior, they're going to keep doing it, right? Like, but when they learn that you don't like it, and you give friends and family a little longer than you give other people, right? You wait for them to come around, you work with them. But when they're hell-bent on saying, no, I want to talk badly about trans people, and I want to be able to openly call black people the N-word or whatever it is, you might have to let them go, right? I mean, what is this thing like where you know the cat is voting for the fascists, and y'all have an argument and talk it out, you this, and you're like, okay, I'll see you next week at lunch. Like the kid. If the kid, you don't teach kids to do better, they're gonna continue doing the same stuff, right? So we gotta be better. And so stop enabling these people. And stop thinking that because you say no, that you're proving to them that you're a lesser person than they are, right? Don't let them do that high road thing. If you take the high road, they know you're better than them. What the fuck do we care? See, I know I'm not better because I'm not disenfranchising trans people. I already know I'm better. Right? If that's what you need, think about it like that. You're not taking people's rights, right? So stop enabling, and that's the tough one. I say this and people get quiet on me. Like, oh, my dad.
Well, the thing you're saying is that resistance is an everyday thing.
That's right.
And you have to take the opportunities. Like, an obvious opportunity was when the Fuhrer pardoned the people on January 6th. Right? All the Democrats had to do. This is like filmmaking. This is like public relations 101. All they had to do was say, let's get all the people that got brutalized on January 6th, bring them on the steps of the Capitol. They can all hold up a picture of the guys that they murdered that day. The people, and then we could just have a camera and go down the row of all the policemen, and they could talk about all the injuries that they were inflicted on them that day. And then we could say, and that guy that broke my leg and busted my mouth open and sprayed me with bear spray, Donald J. fucking Trump, he pardoned and let go. And then the American people might start understanding, 2 + 2 = 4. It's, you have to be willing to explain things to people in ways that they cannot deny.
Real time.
Yes.
Sorry, everyone, so you can hear me. I'm about to whisper it, right? It's not a secret. He asked in front of everybody. Right? So he said, how do you think the future of resistance can look in terms of film?
Well, film has always been, as Hitler knew, film is very effective.
Yeah.
Hitler used movies to sell hatred of the Jews, used film to unify and organize the Holocaust. So film is very, very, very effective. And so you have to think outside of the box. You have to think, what I always try to do is I'm always trying to take concepts, things that I see, things that I understand, things that I know are important. How can I take those things and then transfer them into ideas that can be applied to film? And then how can I then tell that story in an entertaining way so that people might listen to it and understand it and be motivated and moved and entertained by it? It's important to always try to entertain. That's one of the things that we have over them that we are not using. Fox News, you ever see that show where they try to be funny? On Fox News? Comes on every damn thing. It's like a damn nightmare. And rednecks, conservatives, Republicans can't be funny. When they try to be funny, they're just mean. Have you noticed that? Yeah. Watch that show sometime. Let's go. Gut feel or some shit, whatever. But it's just this dude being snide and mean and nasty and just a jerk, you know. And it's like, wow, that passes as humor for these folks. And see, that's also part of our problem is that we are sometimes too sophisticated for our own damn good.
Yeah.
So we have to be sophisticated but also understand that they are reaching people we need to reach. We need to get to those people in Western Kansas. By the way, all the cuts that are happening in KU now, all these farmers at K-State just lost all these grants. They got screwed. They all voted for that mofo. They all got pumped. They all got pimped. They all got put on the corner. They got hoed out. And now they don't know what to do because they have to come to terms with the fact that the immigrants and the gay folks and the trans folks and all the gobbledygook that you voted for has got nothing to do with the fact that the AID, USAID that gave you a check every year for your crops is not coming now because he cut that program.
Yeah.
And all the grants that pay for all the farmer research that these guys do all this important research, all that stuff they cut. That's right. Because the richest dude in the world said, you don't need that shit. So that's the country we live in. And if we don't get pissed off about this and let these mofos know, and I'm talking about Roger Marshall, I'm talking about Mike Moran, I'm talking about all of the and I'm talking about the local folks in Marcy and all of them. Democrats too.
Yeah.
They gotta get, those folks need to get mad for us.
Yeah.
They gotta get mad for us.
Yeah.
We gotta expect them to be mad. They should be here tonight. They should be talking to us tonight. Did anybody go to the Pascal rally? Yeah. So what did they say?
They said on Monday.
Were they there? What did Marcy say?
She said we need to get to work.
Okay. Yes.
A couple weeks ago, we went to see Sharon McMahon, who was in town to give Elizabeth Dole Leadership Award for her fight against the disinformation that's been put out over the years. She's a history professor at C.S.A. or University. And anyway, she had said that she had talked to a retired aide from a senator, a long-time aide, and he said it took 300 calls a day to get them to sit up and take notes and realize there's a crisis. She suggested everybody call. There is a site called 5 Calls. It makes it so easy with It tells you, you can choose what thing you want to talk about. At the bottom of the page, it shows you talk about it. When you click on their names, we issue a sample script. It covers the information you need, and it's so easy, and you can call your DC number, or if it's they're on busy and right March, they call. You can also hit their local numbers, and they all pop up. And I ran into a friend today who is making calls, my wife is making calls, I've been making calls, he's been making calls. A lady who was sitting behind the thing, she works for the VA, and she was making calls.
Heard. Got it. Thank you very much. So, Kevin, I don't have time, but I want to connect this to the question that the person asked about art. And then I saw there was a hand over here too. But I wanted you to talk about, to see if you would talk about the use of history in doing that too. Because clearly, with your body of work, history is key.
Yeah, well, one of the things that fuels my anger and my fear about where we're heading in this country right now is history. And before all this happened, I was trying to make a film called President Joe. It was about Joe McCarthy becoming president. And I did a lot of research on this, and I had several scripts, and I just couldn't quite, it's just things kept, anyway, it didn't quite happen. But one of the things I discovered is that Senator Joe McCarthy, we never stopped Senator Joe McCarthy and McCarthyism. You know, we kind of take credit like we do, but we didn't stop him. He actually just drank himself to death. So Eisenhower didn't stop him, the Democrats didn't stop him, America didn't stop him, he stopped himself. And that guy, his lawyer was Roy Cohn. And then he took the cancer that he got, he took the evil, demonic, whatever it was from McCarthy. Roy Cohn had it, and then he's passed it on to this monster now. And we have to, history tells us that we've got to do better at stopping these people. Let me tell you, Republicans have drank this stuff, and they're not, and after this dude is gone, they're not going to go back to the old way.
That's right.
They're not going to go back to Bob Dole.
Yeah.
That's over with, folks. That's over with. And let me just say one other little part of this. The scary part of what's happening right now is that he told us, every day he tells us, lawsuits don't matter to me. He's been telling us that every day. His guy is Andrew Jackson, who violated the Supreme Court order and marched the Native Americans from the South to Oklahoma on the Trail of Tears. That's his guy. So he doesn't believe in law and order. Obviously, he's a sexual abuser. He's a fraud. He's a thief. So the guy doesn't believe in law. Why are we thinking that he's going to obey the Constitution? So we have to be real about this. I mean, maybe he will, maybe he won't. We don't know. But we better stop thinking that we don't have a plan to, if he doesn't. You better start thinking about what happens when we back him in a corner. What's he going to do when he gets backed in the corner? Right now, he's very popular. What happens when people start hitting the streets? What happens when, last time people hit the streets, what did he want to do? He wanted to shoot them.
That's right.
And he told the army to shoot them. He said, let's shoot them in the leg or something. And the soldiers, the military disobeyed and said, we're not doing that. Those guys are gone now. He's got that dude from Fox News in charge of the Army now. And he's got that dude, cockeyed Cash, as the head of the FBI, who's going to make J. Hoover look like a who knows what. I mean, this is the scariest thing that's ever happened to this country.
Amen.
And yeah, I'm trying to scare y'all because you should be scared.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if we don't save ourselves, we're not going to be able to give our kids the country we're all banking on.
Mm-hmm.
And we've come too far to let them take what we've done for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the good news about C.S.A. is that it's an example of how far we've come. It's an example of Obama. It's an example of black and white people on TV. It's an example of we stopped the abortion madness that they tried to do last summer. It's, you know, things have moved forward. We have a lot to celebrate, and they want to take all of that from us. And so we have to find a way to put the brakes on this for us to it.
Sorry. We'll do two more. I knew there was a hand over here. I had seen somebody. Oh,
yes.
I'll do a couple more. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
A couple more. Okay. I didn't want to leave anybody else. I'm looking. Okay. I'll just start. You were first. Yeah. Okay. You were the person whose hand is up. Then I'll come here and we'll go across.
Okay. So my question is, where is that energy from the civil rights era? Where's the energy from the 60s during Vietnam? Why are progressives so polite now? Why did that happen?
Well, you got to understand, you know, it was a very different world. So everybody had the same shared experience. Now everybody lives in their own little world. Everybody lives in their phone. Everyone has their own little world that they live in. There were 3 channels on TV during the Civil Rights Movement, and all 3 of those channels said that the Civil Rights Movement was a good thing. If there had been Fox News, if there had been a Fox News, I'm going to make a movie about this, by the way. If there had been a Fox News during the Birmingham Civil Rights Movement, and they'd been saying, those fire hoses that you see on those young people were assaulting white women in Birmingham all week long. The police had to fire those fire hoses on them. And white people who were in the middle trying to figure out what's the moral thing to do here, what's the right way to go on this, Fox News would have taken some of them and pulled them over this way. Because they didn't know. Those 3 channels all said, that stuff's wrong, that stuff's wrong, that stuff's wrong. If there had been one other channel, and we know this historically because Richard Nixon said, if I had a channel, I wouldn't have had to resign.
Yeah.
If Fox News had been on the air in 75, he wouldn't have had to resign. So that's the big difference between now and then, is that we don't have that shared experience. We all saw the same thing. We all felt the same thing. We all kind of lived in the same world. We don't do that anymore. That's a very dangerous thing that has happened to us. Because I've got to try to convince you now of the things that are happening to me, they're not happening to you. You're not seeing it. You might see it in an entirely different way. You might see it in a total other way that's not true. And now I got to convince you. Well, I didn't have to do that back then. See the difference? That's why everybody feels so alone now. Because our phones are making us alone. That's right. And so we have to try to get people together in a more shared experience and break through the isolation that this world is creating for us, because they're taking advantage of that from us.
That's right. So, after everyone, just put your hands back up. I'm just going to come across, okay? And by the way, they use strategies to get you addicted to your phones too. Like, understand that. If you have problems putting it down, it's working. That's true. I'm not making this up. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
My question is on the first one. So, like during the movie I saw, there was a couple there, so you speak of Lucas. Sorry. So during the movie, I felt like there was some areas where you tried to put some brief leverage, light movement, but it was pretty heavy. So, personally, when you were making the movie, especially when you go through some of the history, all those kind of thought process, emotions.
So I'll repeat it. So mentioning that during the movie there were moments of lightness that were kind of funny with some of the history and everything, but going through it, but some of it was still heavy. So going through it, what was Kevin's thought process?
So basically, the kind of satire is based, I think, the way my approach to satire, this way, is that I try to take something that's true, something that is a problem, something that is, historical, whatever it might be, and I try to reveal the absurdity of it. And so by revealing the absurdity of it, that's where the humor is. So I don't really tell jokes. Some jokes kind of come out of the absurdity of it, like the Clinton joke about, I was just sitting there, I had this tape. But I'm not trying to tell that joke, they just kind of reveal themselves. But they reveal themselves by exposing the absurdity of it. That's the core of the joke. And these kind of movies, satire, my favorite satire is Dr. Strangelove. And Dr. Strangelove, I learned a lot from studying Dr. Strangelove. And Dr. Strangelove, and I see a lot of satires that kind of fail now because they don't follow the Strangelove kind of structure. Strangelove doesn't invest in relationships in movies. And so that's, if whatever relationships there are in the movie, they really try to show the absurdity of it based in what exactly is the point of the movie. Another great example of that would be Network. So in Network, the relationship between William Holden and Faye Dunaway, it's not about their relationship, it's still about Network. That's right. And so that is the storytelling kind of thing that you're going for. And so, whether it's funny or not, it kind of, it's kind of up to the audience. And you have to kind of just let it flow. But you hope it's funny. You hope it's funny in a way that exposes and reveals something that we should kind of learn from.
Right here, this will come on over. Yes.
Okay. I have a comment and a question. My comment is about anger and the power of anger in making things move. But then, how do we depict anger? Visually, it's fire, it's redness, and that is what seems to be missing in a contemporary situation. That fire is not there. When I look back in the 60s and 70s and civil rights movement, I can see that anger coming out of the speakers of the activities that were happening. So how do we get that fire? How do we light that fire? you have also mentioned the need for us to have our own television. How and when do we start?
Okay, short. So how do we get the anger back, right? Given that, talk about the time in which we're living, kind of harness that power of that we saw in the 60s and the 70s. I would contend that in 2020 we had it surrounding George Floyd, so we could go back, to that. But how do we get that back? And then if we really want our own channel, so that we can counter misinformation, disinformation from Fox News, how do we get going? How do we start? When do we start? So on and so forth.
Yeah, the anger thing is tricky because Trump has a really good way of giving people a place to put their anger. It's probably his superpower. Basically what he does, he says, somebody says, I hate trans people. He says, I hate them too. Come over here and sit with me, dude. And they say, I hate immigrants. I hate them too. Come over here and sit with me, dude. Oh, I hate niggas. Oh, I hate them niggas too. Come over here and sit with me, dude. Oh, I hate them. Come over here and sit with me. And then they sit over there with him, and then he does absolutely nothing for them. But they all think he's speaking to them, and he is filling their need, and they feel their anger is being heard. That's his superpower. That was Hitler's superpower. And so the thing that we have to do is instead of telling people, young people who are mad about Gaza, instead of telling them, you need to go home and stop that, we should have said, Israel has the right to exist. Israel is a great country, but that mofo Netanyahu is a goddamn problem. We should have, but the Democrats were afraid to make that distinction. So Muslims did not go to vote, and people didn't support. And so you have to see, he's willing to call people names. He's willing to do those things. We aren't willing to do those things, and we lose. We have to be willing to define and explain and take a risk at offending someone. He doesn't care about who he offends. We're always worried about offending. We have God on our side. We don't have to worry about offending anybody. And so when you have that, he believes that. We need to believe it too. That's actually true for us. And so that's one of the big differences. That if we can just get real and stop being worried about how we're being perceived, you have to be willing to take a risk. When I put the bulletproof vest on and wore it at KU, it's because I didn't give a motherfucker. I didn't care what you thought about me. I mean, that's the best thing I learned about activism early on. It helped me so much with my film career. I didn't give a shit. There's a line in A Man for All Seasons, and one of my teachers told me this in undergrad. There's a line in Man for All Seasons where Sir Thomas More is in jail, and they are getting ready to execute him, and he's basically trying to tell him just all you got to do is just compromise, and they won't cut your head off, dude. You get out, they'll be over. And Sir Thomas More said this: as a water spaniel is to water, so is a man to himself. So you have to know who you are, You have to understand what you believe in, and you have to kind of see the world the way you see it. And you might be wrong, you might be right. It's your view. But you can't compromise that. And so you have to be willing to stand up publicly and take that position. And that's what the world wants from us. And that's the thing that I write about every day with all the heroes that I write, is that that's what makes people a hero. All the people we admire, they all did that. This is a moment in time in this country where we need someone to do that. They've got to be willing to take a chance, to risk not being liked, to risk not being understood, to take that opportunity to explain things to us and to unify us against this thing before it's too late.
Okay, thank you. So I know we have other questions. We've been given the signal it's time for us to wrap it up. If you have a question, please come. Kevin is happy to talk to you, take your question, just come form a line. But thank you all again for coming, for the engagement. We appreciate it. And please,
I love hearing you laugh. Thank you.